Okay, welcome back to Conversations on Reference. My name is Simon Aristeguieta. In this weekly episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to assess and evaluate information, electronic information. Last week, we were talking about searching and also we explore peer review journal sources or peer review sources. They can be serials or they can be monograph. And what are the advantages of using that type of information? Of course, that's mostly for, I guess, for academic disciplines, for schooling, and so on. But like every other human being in at this time, we do a lot of electronic search, and that means using Google and other search engines to look for information that help us address our information needs. So, if we have an information need, we search the internet. Maybe in the past, many years ago, I'm sorry, when we didn't have the internet, or there was an internet, but it wasn't available to everybody, we would go to the library and we consult with a reference librarian. And in the libraries, they would have what is called the reference collection. And the reference collection, it's a collection of resources for reference to answer reference questions, okay, in the public libraries. They still do have the same reference collection. It may be now in electronic format. But now every user has the advantage, I think it is an advantage, to look for information, him or herself. So we don't go to the library to talk to a librarian as often as we used to. That again may be a mistake, I don't know. But that's how we search for information nowadays. We look for the information ourselves. So we have to be very careful because uh, there is a big difference between the peer review sources, as we explained last week, that are reviewed by experts and what is published in electronic format in the open web. Why? Because anyone can publish anything in the internet. And of course, if we add to the World Wide Web, we add social media, then the information ecosystem becomes even more complicated because there are too many sources, and what we are looking at may be good information, but it may be misinformation or disinformation or even political propaganda. So we have to be very careful as users, um, as librarians, as professionals, as informational professionals. Uh, we have to be very careful about the information that we are sharing, that we are disseminating. And this is true for anybody in any profession, for anybody in everyday life, because we watch TV, uh, we hear news in the radio, we listen to podcasts, we see short videos in social media, we see information being published, we see a lot of sources with lots of information that can be uh, real information, real good, relevant, and pertinent information, but also it can be misinformation, disinformation, and political propaganda. So how are we able to assess, what we are reading or what we are watching in terms of being good information? Another problem, of course, is artificial intelligence, AI. Now, it's not only what we read or what we hear, but also what we watch. There are many videos. AI is capable of producing videos that we don't even know if they are real or not. Okay, so assessing the information as such, it's very hard. But there are some clues that we can look at to see how relevant, how good that information is. Because the only way that we could assess the artifact itself, the video, the sound, and what we are reading would be looking beyond what everyday regular people capabilities are, because we would have to look at the metadata and things like that in a video. And we are not experts on watching videos or on analyzing videos or audio or reading of the written word. But we can see who published, who wrote, who produces, how old it is, what are the qualifications, if the publisher is a reliable or reputable source. We also can check for accuracy and reliability. We can check other sources of information, what they call fact check. Well, we can do that to ourselves. How current that information is. So there are many ways that we can check the channel, and we can check the either person or persons or community or association or company that is producing that information. So, in my opinion, what we have to look first is who wrote the information, who produced the information, okay? Because we want to see to the author's qualification. Now, we may not be talking about a person. We may be talking about a group of persons, or we may be talking about an outlet of information, etc. So being aware who is the author, again, it may be one person, several persons, or maybe an entity. It's the key, okay? So we have to look into that. Who published that information? That, I think, is the first key. The other thing is who is signing this information, okay? Also, when we look for the authorship, we can see if that person is affiliated to an institution that we deem as a reliable and a serious institution. It may be a university, it may be a government organization, etc., etc. So that's the first thing that we have to look for. What is the origin of this file? Again, it can be written, it can be music, it can be sound, it can be video, etc. Okay, this also applies for social media artifacts. In any of the social media, we have to see who is producing this information. That I think is the first step to assess an information. Is the authority and the credibility, right? Maybe the information is published by an individual, but that individual has a relationship with a well-known publisher. That offers you some degree of credibility and authority. Then the second step, I think, is to check for accuracy and check other references. So if we find an information that looks like it was published by a credible source, I would call it authority or credible source, then we have to check other sources to check if the information that we have found in our search, in our open internet search, it seems like, okay, we can verify facts if it's valid, if it's a reliable information. So cross-checking information, okay, or fact-checking information. That's really important. So first step, as I said, authority. Second step, we are going to check the information on other sources that we already trust, okay? It would be perfect if that what we are looking at has citations and references, so we can check those reference and citation. Also, which can provide you with some clues, is that if the artifact that we are looking at, it's well written, if it has spelling errors, if it has if it's a sound or a video, if you see something strange that doesn't add up, okay? So that would be another another check that you can do in terms of accuracy and reliability. I always do that, and I recommend that you do that. First, you ask your question: who wrote it, who produced it, and then the second question is uh, who. A second question could be: is this who published this? Okay, first the authorship, and then the publisher. Then looking for accuracy and checking other sources to see if the information that you're getting seems like a that seems like a reliable information. Another key is in terms of assessing and evaluating information is how old this information is, or how current the information is. So we have to look for publication date. When was this published? I have seen many times many videos or even pictures, and you think they are current, and maybe they are very old. So that may or may not affect what you believe, if you believe the information to be true. But that's a very important aspect, how current this information is. Maybe it's an old information. Maybe that's something that they brought up today. So uh, um, that's another tip for evaluating electronic information. I would say that it is important to think about the audience, who this information is focused on, uh, who is directed to. So the audience of that piece of information, or that artifact, electronic artifact, that's also important to know. Okay, this is an information that is maybe is for a sector, for a political sector, for a political party, or maybe it's for some part of a country, or against another country. So what is the audience? That's another question that you can ask yourself. Another thing that we have to look at is in terms of bias and objectivity. Okay, so when we read or see a video, or hear a podcast, or look at another type of social media post, is to see, well, uh, what are they saying? What are they showing? Do you feel like there is a bias towards one opinion or the other? Is the source and the information that they are disseminating is an objective information? Of course, objectivity is very hard, because we are all human beings, and we all have biases and subjectivity. We are not free of being biased and free and subjective. However, when we read something, or when we see something, a video or a picture, or hear something, we can see where the people who is disseminating this information is coming from. So I always advise to listen carefully and see, okay, this is the opinion of these people. Let me again fact check, cross reference this information to be if this information is reliable and pertinent. Okay, I think that may be another step in terms of assessing that information. We can look at how professional the information looks like. That would be another key or clue in terms of authorship of the information. Another thing that I recommend a lot, if it's a web page, is to look at the domain, okay, and see if you can identify the domain, and maybe go and do another searches about that domain where this piece of information is published. Okay, so that's very important. Uh, the problem today, of course, is that we are in a level of the discourse in today's world is, I would say, is so high that and there is so much access to content production that it is very difficult to assess electronic information. In my opinion, when I see authorship, when I see affiliation, when I see audience, uh, my the main tool that I have to assess electronic information is by checking other sources and see what they say about the topic that I'm looking for. Okay, we as when we become professional information agents or information professionals, we have to provide the best information possible to our users. Okay, and that means not that we are going to censor information. That's totally wrong. What it means is that we are going to offer uh, the best information that we have found, uh, either printed or in electronic format, to our users so they can address the information needs. And that means that we have to assess and evaluate the information. And we can offer all that, uh, what we have found, to the user. And the user will decide if that's the information that they want to get, or that they want to follow, or that they want to see. Our role is not censorship. Our role is offering the user all our knowledge. We offer several sources that address their information needs, and we can tell our user or tell the user what we think about the information in terms of what? In terms of reliability, in terms of pertinence, and in terms of credibility. Okay? Now it's up to the user to decide the information that the user wants to use. Another important aspect on assessing information, electronic information, all of these tools, we like in everything in librarianship, you have to practice. Okay, the more you practice, the more proficient you will become assessing information. So, first, of course, is practicing searching in the open web and searching in databases. The second step is assessing information, which becomes more relevant when you are searching in the open web. Okay, because if you're searching in academic databases, you already know that those are peer review. But when you are searching in the open web, assessing becomes, I think, in my opinion, the most difficult part. Searching is easy, but assessing the sources becomes the harder part of doing that, of giving reference to users. We have to provide those tools to our users. We have to explain what we are doing when we are assessing information. What are we looking for? So the user can become a proficient searcher and a proficient assess and proficiently assess information sources, because that's the whole idea. The whole idea of being an information professional or a librarian is not that the user becomes dependent on us. What we aim at is to make the user an informed citizen, a citizen that can use information to address information needs for himself, for herself, or for the community. Okay, that's the whole point. So, so let's practice searching and let's practice assessing. Thank you for listening to my podcast this week, Conversations on Reference. My name is Simon Aristeguieta, and I will see you next week.